The 2023 season hasn't even begun and there's already been plenty of drama, including a rumoured failed business sale of the entire Formula 1 sport, as well as a vicious escalation in the already strained relationship between the FIA and Liberty Media, the current owners of F1. So let's take a look at the current reports, accusations and feuds, as well as the impact all of this infighting will have on the sport. According to a report from Bloomberg, Saudi Arabia's sovereign wealth fund considered an attempt to add Formula 1 motor racing to its growing portfolio of sports investments. A potential deal fell through last year when F1's owner, Liberty Media Corp, refused to sell the high-profile franchise, which Saudi Arabia's public investment fund reportedly valued at well over $20 billion, including debt. Nevertheless, the PIF remains interested in the asset and will be a serious bidder if Liberty Media decide to sell. Saudi Arabia has been heavily investing in sports as Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman opens the country up to more Western-style forms of entertainment. In recent years, it has invested in Newcastle United FC of the English Premier League and hosted major events in boxing, golf, and of course Formula 1. Critics, however, have labelled the efforts as sports washing or an attempt to divert attention away from the country's human rights record. Last year, 7-time F1 champion Lewis Hamilton stated that he felt obligated to address the issue of human rights while racing in Saudi Arabia. F1 would be a marquee acquisition. Since being acquired by billionaire John Malone's Liberty Media in a $4.4 billion deal in 2017, the sport has grown in popularity. By expanding F1's reach in Asia and the United States, as well as launching a direct-to-consumer streaming service, Liberty Media has attempted to cultivate a new generation of fans. The Middle East has also been a priority for F1's owners. The region will host 4 races in the 2023 season, the first 2 of which will take place in March with Bahrain and Saudi Arabia. Saudi Aramco, the world's largest oil producer, also signed a historic sponsorship deal with Formula 1 in 2020. However, FIA President Mohammed bin Sulayem has cautioned against alleged price tags of $20 billion for a potential Formula 1 sale. Bin Sulayem warned that if Liberty Media sold the commercial rights to F1, a potential buyer would have to present a comprehensive plan for F1's future, in addition to suggesting that the claimed $20 billion valuation was inflated. Bin Sulayem issued the warning in 3 parts on a Twitter post. This followed being questioned about the Bloomberg report by media at the Monte Carlo rally, with Bin Sulayem keen to make the FIA's position really clear. As the custodians of motorsport, the FIA as a non-profit organization is cautious about alleged inflated price tags of $20 billion being put on F1. Any potential buyer is advised to apply common sense, consider the greater good of the sport and come with a clear sustainable plan, not just a lot of money. It is our duty to consider what the future impact will be for promoters in terms of increased hosting fees and other commercial costs, and any adverse impacts that it could have on fans. According to a senior F1 source, the initial sales story was not entirely accurate, and the FIA president would have no say in such a sale process anyway. It is worth noting, however, that the FIA World Motorsport Council had to unanimously approve the sale to Liberty. This will have been related to the terms of the deal, by which it handed over the commercial rights, first to Bernie Ecclestone in 1995 for a term of 15 years, then with a subsequent 100-year deal for $360 million, though F1 appears to regard this as a formality. The original sale was required to meet the European Commission's demand that the FIA separate its regulatory and commercial involvement in Formula 1. Despite suggestions that it could be sold for a large profit, Liberty Media is not actively seeking to sell it. However, as with all such entities, the right buyer with the right number could change that position, and it's logical that the PIF would be interested in such an acquisition if it were on the table. Bin Sulayem's assertion of the FIA's position must also be seen as part of the larger struggle for power in F1. This is just the latest salvo following Bin Sulayem's push for a formal application process for aspiring new teams, despite F1 and the team's skepticism. The FIA clearly wants to ensure that if Liberty Media does decide to sell F1 in the future, whether to PIF or any other entity, that it is a key part of the process and that it stands to benefit financially. But that isn't the end of the story. Tensions between Formula 1 and the FIA have risen dramatically as a result of Bin Sulayem's remarks on Twitter. Stakeholders believe Bin Sulayem crossed the line, prompting the extremely unusual action of a letter to the FIA executive and the World Motorsport Council, which was signed by Sasha Woodward-Hill and Renee Wilm, F1's chief legal officers and Liberty Media's owner, respectively. The letter's contents, as revealed by Sky and the BBC, include a reference to the president's comments interfering with F1's commercial rights holder in an unacceptable manner, as well as a warning that if they harm the value of F1, the FIA may be held liable. It is the latest, strangest, and most serious development in a behind-the-scenes battle between Formula One and its governing body, which has some roots prior to Bin Sulayem's presidency, but has escalated in the year since he took over. The fact that F1 felt the need to intervene so formally in direct response to the FIA president's remarks and warn him that it is hoped that this issue will not need to be addressed again is very significant. Bin Sulayem's use of Twitter has raised more than a few eyebrows in the F1. Recent examples include Bin Sulayem announcing his intention to open the process for evaluating new teams, then taking to social media a few days later to publicly complain about a negative reaction to the Andretti Cadillac project, which Bin Sulayem has spoken optimistically about, but teams have responded unfavorably in private. But this is different. It has not been dismissed as an expression of an individual's opinion, nor has it been dismissed as odd but ultimately harmless. Here, there are serious concerns about claiming or implying inside knowledge and causing significant harm to shareholders and investors. According to F1, Bin Sulayem does not understand the agreement between the FIA and F1. He has no say or approval power, and the governing body is only involved in the process in very limited circumstances. Most importantly though, it is not his matter to interfere with, not least because it crosses a line in the commercial separation between the FIA and F1 as part of decades-old antitrust legislation. Neither F1 nor the FIA have issued an official statement on the matter. The content of the leaked letter, however, clearly shows that whoever thought Bin Sulayem could get away with his tweets or that they would be easily sidestepped was gravely mistaken. While teams are currently watching the battle between F1 and the FIA from the sidelines, they are mindful about how things may develop from here. At a time when F1 is on a roll with record attendances and earnings, a power struggle at the top could be an unnecessary distraction. Nonetheless, several sources indicate that the goings-on at the top have not raised big concerns about the potential harm to the teams or F1's global image for sponsors or fans. It shouldn't have an impact on the team's lifeblood of commercial rights income, and even if relations between Bin Sulayem and Formula One's management completely break down, the FIA's governance structures should still allow the processes that FOM requires to take place. The most significant change is likely to occur within the FIA depending on how Bin Sulayem's actions are perceived by those within the governing body. The FOM's warning that the FIA could be held liable for damages caused by Bin Sulayem discussing commercial matters will not go unnoticed by members, as government regulators really don't like anything that has an undue impact on company valuations. Let us not forget that Elon Musk was fined a total of $40 million by the Securities and Exchange Commission in 2018 for misleading investors with a tweet that suggested that he was considering taking his Tesla company private. Furthermore, the FOM letter served as a reminder that the FIA had long agreed not to get involved in any commercial F1 matters. So what comes next? Well, in the short term, it will be interesting to see if Bin Sulayem sticks to his guns or apologizes and changes his stance. Longer term, it will be difficult to assume that F1 will accept anything less than an FIA coup and the appointment of someone else to lead the governing body. What it most likely wants from the governing body is clearer definitions of spheres of responsibility, in particular how things are handled going forward so that Bin Sulayem does not become a thorn in F1's side when it comes to evolving the series the way it wants. But almost certainly, F1 will want assurances that the FIA will uphold its end of the bargain struck with the EU decades ago, not intervening in or attempting to influence commercial matters. Bin Sulayem has long maintained that he doesn't see any major issues between himself and Domenicali. He stated at last year's Abu Dhabi Grand Prix that they discussed matters every other day. F1's letter to the FIA, however, has demonstrated that the schism at the top is not a figment of journalists' imagination. Instead, it's a real battle for control of F1's future direction, and it looks set to dominate the paddock agenda in the coming months. So what are your thoughts on the situation? Is the schism between the FIA and Liberty Media going to become a major issue in the future? Be sure to comment below and let us know. If you enjoyed this video, please consider liking, subscribing, and clicking the bell so you never miss an upload. Thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you next time.